Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I'm a 7th year doctoral student in clinical psych. I have a hella runny nose because I ran to get here today. What else? I'm an addict and an alcoholic, another bozo on the bus, and I care about you.
Yes, and I'm LouiLou, and my pronouns are he and him. I'm a former of Castro Country Club. I am in recovery for alcohol, crystal meth, and I am always in search of balance. Thank you. And each week we will provide and create a space where we can engage in topics of recovery.
Our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us.
Yes, but before we do that, please remember to like, share, comment, and ding that bell.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding,
And
ding,
now the disclaimer. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on at the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. The material and information shared here is for general information purposes only. In other words, we are just friends behind a mic here to entertain you.
Wiki, wiki, wiki.
Baby.
Just friends behind the mic. I love it.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just dealing with life. I mean, it's like this probably won't be relevant if you're listening to it a while back, but in San Francisco, we lost an icon.
We did lose an icon. We did lose
an icon. And so emotions are really high. It's a somber time in the city, even though we finally have a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah.
Did you feel that earthquake?
I didn't feel that earthquake. I did not feel that earthquake. A comment about Heklina before I move on. A lot of times when I hear people talk about folks who have passed, like they say good things, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was the first time when I heard of her passing, the second I saw that, my first thought was, and every interaction I ever had with this person was always beautiful, always warm, always a person of service.
Uh-huh.
So we really lost an incredible human being.
That laugh was infectious. It's like, and she called me Wheezy.
She called you Wheezy?
She called me Wheezy. It's like, I'm on. Hey, Wheezy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm good. I literally ran here.
I know.
So on my way here, everything was syncing up, right? Like Bart got here on time, right? And then I got on a bus on time. And then when I got to Muni, I'm like, it's not going to be perfect all the way too. So I was literally like 30 seconds from getting on the M to get here. Uh-huh. And there was a bunch of fucking people just walking so slowly down the stairway. And I was like, Anthony, it's not their fault that you are running late. And so I ran here and I'm letting it go, I think.
The only thing I think that was missing, like in a marathon when there are people on the side giving you water and whatever.
Yeah, that's
somebody handing you water and food.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect.
God, it was crazy. I was like running down here and laughing to myself at like the same time, like, oh, you're so ridiculous. But also happy that like what I was running for was like to be here with you and everyone listening.
I love that.
Yeah. And I meant that. I meant that.
I know.
I meant that last
part. That was super sweet.
Absolutely. How are you doing? Other than what you shared a second ago, yeah.
I'm good. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I really enjoyed last week's conversation, and I'm looking forward to today's. Am I finishing? I'm forgetting.
You drank or you drank?
No, I'm high off coffee, and then I'm drunk, and I'm a little congested too. But it's
me too. I'm looking at the camera, and my nose is all red.
I love that. I'm looking at the camera.
My nose is all red. I'm also looking forward to today's conversation. This shit, like, so I do a fourth. I'm working on a 4th step in SLA with my SLA sponsor, and we do it on Tuesdays.
Uh-huh.
And today felt like a especially heavy lifting for me.
Oh, it's okay. So I don't know if it was last week's show or the show before. We were talking about different forms of recovery, and we mentioned smart recovery. We were talking about, and I was talking to someone actually who participates in smart recovery, and the distinction is that it's not a spiritual program, and there's crosstalk of it. Yeah, crosstalk, because there's a lot of folks who like, and I just wanted to like bring that up because I think we had mentioned OA and then smart recovery, and if you're someone who is okay with feedback, because I remember early recovery, I'm all, no, I don't want any feedback. because it was to be exposed, to have people kind of say to you what you said, give their interpretation of it. because I was delusional. It's like
Right.
in my mind, I was, every
Right.
time I opened my mouth, there were flowers and spiritual stuff, and it was amazing. And that wasn't the case.
Yeah, you had people saying that didn't sound the way you thought it sounded.
No, it's like I was talking. It's like wah 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 wah. Yeah,
that's funny. I remember when I first got here. By here, I mean like over 10 years ago when I first started trying to get sober, and shit, I thought I was like. I thought my shares were changing lives.
Well, because of the conversations you were having, like when you were drinking and using with people, it's like I was so deep, I was so spiritual. Yeah.
Well, the worst too was like, don't come up to me after meeting and tell me that you appreciate my share because I was gonna double down. And I'm like, oh, you like that? I got more.
and we were familiar with hostage taking.
Okay, that's the shit that I could never like. I don't like being told when to like not do something. So I always shared right before the timer because that shit felt too embarrassing to me if like the timer went off while I was sharing, which is interesting to me because some people will hear that timer.
I acknowledge that and then share for another 2 more sessions.
Yeah, 2 more sessions. For folks at home who may not be familiar with a spiritual timekeeper. So during some 12-step meetings, you'll have someone who's going to keep time on how long you can share. Generally, we use 3 minutes out here. So if that timer goes off, that means you went over 3 minutes. Some people just...
And then I have to keep my mouth shut, but I'm usually sitting there thinking, if you need to share more than 3 minutes, then you need to talk to someone else beyond this because there's more to it. But really, I'm reminded about myself. There's ego sometimes attached in, like, I'm not saying all the time. Most of the time, actually, let me qualify. You don't have to. There doesn't have to be a reason or rule. You can share because the spirit moves you. But I think about how I've shared in the past, and so unfortunately sometimes I put that on other people. And so I'm like you. I usually try to share within the, within that time. If I go over, I try to shut up. I think it's always the best when somebody says they're getting deep and you think they're going to go deeper and they hear, oh, I guess that means I need to stop.
And then they stop.
I
love that.
I love that. I absolutely love that because it's like, if I really got to talk about it.
Yeah. And one of the things that came up on my 4th step today is how I'm a hypocrite, because sometimes I'll hear someone share and I'm so like enthralled and they go over the timer and I don't give a fuck. I'm like, I need more of whatever this person is doing. So that just goes to show there are no like, at least for me, absolutes when it comes to stuff like that.
There are none because
like anything really.
No, it's like if we were talking about it before, I think we had this conversation with Bonnie Violet, where if I like you, I am going to give you a lot more grace than sometimes.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me, man? There are studies that show that if you're attracted to someone, you are more likely to treat them better.
Absolutely.
And there's studies that show too that
is
like,
that why I treat you so bad? No, I love you.
That's not where I thought you were going. You see, my reaction was premature.
No, I was being silly. That's right.
You're a piece of shit.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you too.
Okay.
So in preparing for today, by preparing today, all I mean is like I had to keep myself contained and talking about letting go.
Yeah.
When is it time to let go? I think when we first had the conversation, I don't remember what the context was, but we were talking about like mentorship relationships or sponsorship relationships, and like when is it time to let go of a sponsor? And then that became part of a much broader conversation about like when is it time to let anything go?
Exactly. I appreciate that because I think that when we came up with the topic or when the topic was listed, it was really more heavily, it was 12-step based. And thanks to Bonnie Violet making the comment,
Thank you, Bonnie Violet.
We were able to kind of expand it and think about it on terms of everything, because it's like, it's a tough one. It's a tough one sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to start? I mean, I've got things top of mind. How about you?
Why don't you start? I love it when you start.
Gosh, I'm gonna try not to turn this into group therapy. Me, and whoever's
What are we
listening.
supposed to do? Huh?
What are we?
It's group therapy.
Excuse me. So
you have your
what?
A great way to start is like you know how we say the topic, it appears on screen.
Yeah, and it didn't happen.
And then no, it didn't.
Oh, someone's asleep at the wheel. Someone's asleep at the wheel. So today's topic is letting go. When is it time to let go?
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm actively working on my 4th step in SLAA and Al-Anon actually. And not surprisingly, if you saw my Instagram, one of the things that has come up a lot on my 4th step time and time again are my relationships with men, right? Relationships with guys. So sometimes this might be like a formal relationship where like I and the other person, we refer to each other as boyfriends or partners, or it might be like I was dating someone. And one of the things that's come up for me time and time again is how and I've talked about this before, how I sometimes will superimpose, not sometimes, almost all the time will superimpose. I mean, let's be real here. We're going to be honest.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to be honest today. How I'll sometimes superimpose this narrative that I have about myself, right? And I know this also, like outside of 12-step, there's a form of therapy. It's called time-limited dynamic psychotherapy. And basically, there's an idea called a maladaptive cyclical pattern. So basically, it's this pattern, behavioral pattern that people will engage in time and again and again and again and again, and they'll just recreate it because they're trying to essentially they're trying to learn something.
I love that you explained, because I heard you say that series of words, and I've heard those words individually, but not all together. And all of a sudden, my head was going to explode. There's going to be a Jackson Pollock painting on the back wall.
Oh, that's dark.
No, exactly.
So the 4th step for me is about essentially identifying maladaptive cyclical patterns, right? Or like the thing that I keep doing over and over again. So I had to get real with myself today when I was talking to my sponsor, because, and I texted you about this.
Yeah.
And, I reached out to someone I had no business reaching out to.
You know what? I love you for that. Thank you. Because I think that it is our relationship outside of this that really helps this process. Because I feel like I was thinking, it's like, why is he asking me? I don't have any experience, but I guess I do.
I think I just needed a witness.
Yeah, and I'm happy to witness.
Yeah.
And you probably need somebody who's just gonna like, okay, bitch, you're crazy.
Bitch, of course that's what happened. Exactly. You know what I mean? So context, I was like dating this person and was like totally enamored with this person. And okay, the drunk, like delusional part of me will tell the story this way. I met this person. They had qualities that I've never found in anyone else. And I was, like really enthralled. And then I told them the truth about what I was looking for. And we parted ways because we were looking for different things. I feel like that's a softer way. Then I was talking to my sponsor today and I was like, man, did I really sugarcoat that like rendition? Because what is the truth? The truth is that I didn't honor any of my own boundaries, right? I told myself I was not going to hook up with this person because I'm like, Anthony, you're not in a position where you can like hook up with someone, because like that's just not what you're looking for right now. And like one of the more recent developments for me is that I've been I feel like I can't really hook up because my feelings are attached to sex, and like that feels like a gift of recovery.
It's
growth. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's growth.
It's a lot of growth, and it was unexpected. And so what happened was like I had hooked up with this person, I freaked out, and like I started saying all of these things. And now in retrospect, if I went back to that scene and I was listening to what I was saying, I would have if I was the other person, I would have been like, whoa, run. Not because I was just like, if I go back and listen to what I was saying, I was essentially saying like, yo, like what? Like, and this is only like, we've only been dating for like a month or something like that. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
No, this is a really good, like what we're talking about. I don't know how it completely connects to our topic, but I was thinking, I hear this a lot in relationship, trying to figure out when is the right time to have those like serious conversations. Like there's always going to be somebody who is not as kind of in tune to like these deep conversations that are absolutely necessary for conversation. But when do you have them?
Right. Exactly. And that was, I think, the way I started. I'll let you know how it connects to today's topic.
Okay, good.
So I remember saying to him, there's no right time to have these types of conversations. I could have pumped the brakes. Who knows? All things unfold the way exactly the way they're supposed to. I believe this. So I don't really think I made any mistakes, because helped me arrive to where I am today. And here's where I arrived today. So the underlying narrative behind all of that stuff and every fucked up relationship I've ever been in is always the same stuff. It's I'm unlovable. It's, I need this. If I were this, I were this, right? And so what's kept me trapped, I think, in this pattern is that I've held on to those narratives for such a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I've been so committed to those narratives that like I recreate them over and over and over again. And at some point you have to let that shit go.
Absolutely.
Right. And what does letting go look like? Well, it means that like you don't act, for me, it means you don't act on the feeling or thought when it shows up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you find a new way of responding to the feeling.
Also, it's like letting go is not about forgetting. It's not about forgetting. It's simply about making peace with how it is, how things actually are. And I like that you were talking about 4-step. I mean, I don't know exactly what the process is outside of 12-step, but you've got to do that work before. Like, if you don't know why you're letting something go, why are you going to let it go?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I hold on tight to it because I'm thinking it's the right thing to do.
Right.
But it's like, it was because of the inventory that I took. Like I give this analogy, because I try to be all flowery and spiritual with my sponsees. So think of it like this. It's like I was actually in this room and with third step. Third step is turning your will and your life over. And when I did that, the higher power I choose to call God came the next day with a wrecking ball. And then it was my responsibility in the 4-step to rummage through all the wreckage and to figure out what was going on, find the pieces that no longer serve me, and hold on to the things that serve me well. And once I got to, and it's not as easy as, you can identify them, but it then becomes a moment of like, okay, these are, how do I, and that's the steps beyond that. But
yeah,
letting go.
What's something that you've recently had to let go, or maybe something that's kind of like pronounced in your memory when you think about the 4-step?
Okay, so I think around my finances. Around my finances and how I wanted to show up, I had to make peace with the fact that, I did the best that I could with the situation the way that it was. And I knew that it wasn't going to look the way I wanted to, and I had to let go. For a while, I was obsessed with like checking my credit score and making sure it looked a certain way. And I was thinking that after hearing other people talk about how they, because, there are people in our lives that they just seem like they were born to be perfect at money management and what have you. And every decision I made, I look back on, and I couldn't see it in the time. Every decision I made regarding my finances was a necessary decision. Some of it was frivolous, but it wasn't like, I had to make peace with the fact that I'm a different person than I was like in early recovery. Early recovery, I was just completely like, it was a shit show. For me now and the choices that I had to make and the acceptance of the sacrifices that I need to make, it was like, okay, you did the best that you could. It wasn't a stellar kind of showing, but it doesn't mean that you were a bad person in this next go around. As soon as I'm making choices. Do you know what I'm getting at? I'm trying to be very general.
Yeah.
I don't need to go specific with what I'm doing.
Sure, of course.
But it's important that that I had to let go of this thought that, kind of like you were saying, that the narrative is that I was worthless, that I was always going to be worthless, that I wasn't going to master this, and that I deserve everything I got. And that was bullshit.
Yeah.
It was bullshit. It's like, I think the fact that I am taking affirmative action. Yes, I threw that in. I'm taking affirmative action to make a change and thinking about my future. That's a big step.
Right.
This is not who I was before, because I was thinking about this idea of letting go. I used to let things happen because I was too afraid to take action. Yeah. I would let things go really bad, go really sour, and then I wouldn't have a choice. They would make the choice for me. And
right.
Yeah.
It makes me it makes me think about. So I believe that everything we do because we believe it's preserving happiness or it's cultivating happiness. From lying to anything, we're doing it as a way of like protecting ourselves. And I think that when it comes to, gosh, like, okay, I'll back up a little bit. So when I was like drinking and using, for example, right? At some point, I thought like I had it under control. Like I thought I understood the world, right? And it was only at that moment where I was like, you know what? No, I don't. Right? Like I had to let go of this idea of who I thought I was.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Then I think about like interpersonal relationships, even if they're not romantic relationships, right? And I sometimes would just complicate them, right? Like in my head, and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes bottom line is like either something's working or it's not working. Either something is comfortable or it's not comfortable. You know, like distilling things to its simplest parts.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, you know, like sometimes relationships can be gray, which is also tricky, right? Because I have certainly I've had experiences with people where they'll tell me, well, like, well, she said this thing to me, so I'm done with her. And like, just like that, just kind of write people off.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, well, that can't be healthy either, right? Like there has to be some, I don't know, something has to inform the decision of when you're letting things go, right? Letting a job go. Like when do you leave a job that's not working for you anymore?
Yeah.
Right. And to me, I think like values, I think, come with that too. It's like, you know, I had this one job. I was working for this hospital. I was making more money than I ever made in my life. And I'm like, so the value at the time was like, oh, I like this money.
Yeah.
And then at some point I was like, I actually hate it here. You know what I mean? Like this is not comfortable. Right.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to let go of an idea of who I thought I was because the value had to change. The value was like, no, actually, I'm learning here, which is, you know, things transition. I'm learning here that actually what I value more is my peace of mind.
Absolutely. But you had to come to that place, come to that understanding. I was thinking about another situation, and I talk about this ad nauseum. I was paying a fat tax for the gym.
Oh.
And in my mind, I was getting a really good deal at the gym. I was paying not what other people were paying. And there was a part of me in the back of my mind thinking, it's like, I'm going to hold on to this because if I decide to commit to the gym, I want to maintain this. But the problem was I wasn't going. And so the two things kind of existed. It was a drain and it was a good deal. And so my New Year's resolution this year is to let go of the things that are no longer serving me. And it was like kind of a modification of a New Year's resolution I have all the time, that I'm going to appreciate the people who appreciate me.
Right.
You know, and so I told myself I'm gonna do January, and if I don't go at least once in January, I'm letting it go. And I let it go, and I didn't. And it has been the best thing. And I realized I don't know why it was so hard. It was so hard. And it shouldn't have been hard because it was one of those things. Every time I pass by the gym, I'm all, whatever. I tell you, I think I would only go to the bathroom. I was in the area mall because it's like when you get to a certain age, you need to know where the bathrooms are.
You want to hear a story about the fat tax? So I won't say the names of any gyms, but basically, excuse me, data was collected, and it showed that if people didn't feel like they were spending a lot of money, right? So there are people who go to the gym and there are people who don't go to the gym, and there are people who pay to go to the gym that don't show up, right?
Yeah.
That if you make the price low enough, people just shrug it off. And so there was an entire industry that was created behind people who will get a gym membership, not go, and shrug off the expense, right? So if you make it low enough. So it isn't, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, it's human nature.
And having it automatically come from your account, it's easy to overlook it.
Yeah, especially if like, you're like, man, I didn't see it. I couldn't feel it.
Whatever. It's like, it's like, exactly. It's like,
or if you're going,
or I use this rationalization that it's like, I probably would have spent the money anyway on something else or whatever.
Yeah. But like, there's one gym that I used to work at, and that like literally the membership is like hundreds of dollars a month. And you'd feel that shit if it, if it was like, if it came out, you know what I mean? You'd be on the phone, but if it's just like kind of a few dollars, you're probably going to like, it's fine. So there's an entire industry.
Well, this was $65 and I was like, what?
Oh, what I'm thinking of is much less than that.
Yeah.
Much less than
no,
that.
I could have, if it was $15 a month, or whatever, I would be like, I'd still be a part of that gym.
Yeah, whole industry.
Are you kidding? $15? No, $65. I was feeling it after a while.
Yeah.
After I finally, and this ties back to what I was talking about earlier with finances. It's like, I'm all, you know what? Hello. It's like you have to take some serious action, and slowly but surely I've been doing it, and it's like, I'm not completely like calm and feel solid but I know that I'm doing the right thing because I'm thinking about the future, and not in a future trippy way, but in a way where I'm like, I want to have peace, and having peace and being able to do the things that I do means that the sacrifices I'm making today. Yeah.
Louis, you know what I just noticed?
Which
I was doing the hand thing.
Oh.
I like looked up and I'm like, why am I rubbing my fingers?
Oh my God. We were okay. So if you don't know, last episode, if you watch us, I like to go back and I watch the old episodes, and I was watching it and I was looking at my hands and I'm all thinking, what am I doing with my hands? I was rubbing them ferociously, and I'm all thinking, it's like, when somebody's like, I need to wash my hands. I'm going.
You were doing exactly that. I was watching it. Letting go. Never had a problem with that. Okay, Alex.
Explain that.
Okay, wait. Wow, I was just kidding. This is actually is actually super informative.
I know. I'm glad.
Thanks, Alex.
Oh, Jaylon.
Unfortunately, for a lot of us, we learn at the speed of pain. Okay, open up with that fire sentence.
I know, Jaylon. You are amazing.
Jaylon, you are certainly amazing. Alex, you too.
Yes, Alex. I love you.
I know I have. Taking action seemingly sounds simple, but isn't easy. Fear of the unknown can play such a big role in the resistance to move forward. However, that fear is a lack of faith. And like at the end of the 12 steps says, when we take action, we choose faith over fear.
And you know what? It's kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's like, okay, so I've created this narrative around who I am. And what would it look like if I let certain aspects of me go? Especially if I'm a Virgo.
Wait, sorry, go ahead. You said something. I don't want to lose what you just said.
Go ahead, say it.
So like, explain that, for example. Like when you say let certain aspects go, like what does that look like in real time?
Well, okay, so I'm witty. I'm kind of,
You're fantastic.
I have an acid tongue. I'm kind of catty. It's common in game in, and I make people laugh. And I was caught up in thinking, I had this idea that like people don't want me around, and so I make them laugh, and then they want me around. And if I'm not funny, if I'm not making joke, if I'm not being the comedian like that, or are they going to want me around? Things like that. And so it's like, it was in doing the work with, my sponsor and realizing that, I wasn't being honest, especially not with myself, and I was selling myself short, that I'm so much more than entertainment for people. Because the truth of it is like most of the people that I was worried about losing, I would always walk away from them.
Ooh,
no, and it was weird because obviously because I was compromising who I was, and it takes having these experiences a lot. And I think this is what happens over time. And this is why this staying sober, doing the work together is important. But it took, walking through these fearful situations, having courage to kind of let some things go, even though I didn't know what was next and I didn't know who I was going to be or what I was going to look like. And
I think what you're talking about is like authenticity, and it makes me feel like we need to be on our own side. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I think sometimes like I look back at like decisions I've made or relationships that I was in, and I was like, where were you? You know what I mean? Like, why weren't you on your own side?
Yeah.
And it's sometimes because we might believe like I deserve to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. When I don't know, did you have this experience when I first got sober? I felt like, okay, I had my fun. I don't deserve the sort of certain things. Like I wouldn't go shopping. I wouldn't go shopping for clothes and things like, I wouldn't go shopping for things unless it was absolutely necessary. And I struggled with this idea of taking care of it. It's like this. Okay, so I remember when I got my DUI. and my car was impounded and I had to turn myself in, stay in jail overnight or whatever. My father got me a radio for my car, a stereo for my car after, and I felt like, you are, what's going on here? You're so you're rewarding me for shitty behavior.
Right.
I don't know how it came to that.
No. I get what you're, because you didn't believe you deserved it.
Yeah, I didn't believe, exactly. I didn't believe that it was that thing. And so I don't know. It's like, yeah, it was just.
So imagine if in that moment you believe that you deserved happiness and that you like deserved love, regardless of the shit that you may have done.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's essentially what you're talking about.
No, absolutely. And I think that this is what continued recovery and grace has taught me, that I'm not a bad person. I just was a person who happened to have this situation overtake me. I couldn't handle what I was being presented with. Are you trying to tell me to?
No. It's me. I know. It's so hard for me.
I saw him moving his mic.
I know.
I couldn't handle what was being presented to me, and the way that I reacted to it was drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No. It's hard for me to sit still. I do my best while I'm here.
That's okay.
So I was moving. But yeah, letting go, and I think, gosh, and it's in like, when we talk about like surrender, right? Like surrender is essentially constantly being in a state of letting go. It's like
control. That I think that you and I can both attest to, this idea of being in control.
I love how people feel so comfortable telling me that they think I'm controlling. Man, I think I hear that.
I can relate to that, because it's like, but that was something that I struggle with, control. And I think so I think when you first start recovery, the things that you need to work on, it's like they're big and you can see them. And the longer that you stay in, it becomes a lot more nuanced. It's so much more subtle, but I still find ways to slip into this idea of control. Like, the last big thing that I struggled with was this silent scorn, or this contempt. Where if I didn't realize that if somebody is not behaving the way I wanted them to behave, I would treat them in such a way like I'd shut down, or and you would think that, okay, I'm just taking care of myself. That's because it hurts you. It kept me from having an honest kind of real relationship with those individuals. And it was not me accepting kind of life on life's terms, and accepting that just because I think I know what's right doesn't mean I know what's right. Although I know what's right.
So I want to go back to something you said a little bit ago. And you know how you said, like, will people want me around if I'm like not joking and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely.
And it made me think about how, like, the more work that I do, and like the more I like fall in love with myself, the more I need people around me who are okay with like all sides of me.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like, I can't, God, I'm forgetting her name.
And then you want to surround yourself with people who are like that, who kind of just unapologetically themselves.
They're themselves.
I'm always drawn to them.
Yeah. They're themselves, and they're still loving and compassionate. I forget. Gosh, there's this famous feminist Black author whose name I'm forgetting. But one of the things that she said, I read this like over 10 years ago, and I haven't been able to forget it. But she said, like, once you know love, you can't go back.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, once you know what like happiness feels like, once you know what acceptance feels like, you won't settle for anything less. And often I think that we settle for less because we haven't had that experience yet.
Exactly. It's a struggle that I had with a good friend of mine, where we, a while back, and I know I spent a number of episodes really kind of having struggles. We came back from our trip in Palm Springs after we had a big falling out, and not communicating for, we didn't talk for about over 6 months. And I realized in that, like, I had all of these amazing people around me who were showing me through their actions how friends show up for one another. Mm-hmm. And we're really good now, but we had to, I on my end, and I'm pretty sure on their end, we had to come to an understanding. It's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not showing up in that way, because we're adults. We don't have to play this game. This is not real. I want our relationship to be real and based on something that, based in love. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we can joke now, whatever, but I really feel like we made it over the hurdle. And I'm only mentioning this because, like I said, once you know love, once you know what healthy looks like, once you have a sense of it and how it feels, because I have friends that I've never had altercations with, that I've never had any kind of struggles. We just are, you know?
It was Audre Lorde.
Oh, Audre Lorde.
It was Audre Lorde who said that. And I think the other quote that I'm thinking of here is by, it might be Bell Hooks.
I love Bell Hooks.
And Unloving. Is that the book she wrote? Unloving?
I think so.
Unloving. But basically one of the things she says is that like when a lot of us look back and we see that we have to accept that we weren't loved, we were cared for.
Yeah.
Because, and like loving, she defines as, we'll take that comment in a second. Loving, she defines as essentially helping grow someone, helping cultivate someone. Right. One more thought.
We should talk about that after the comment too, because it's common in Black and brown families.
Oh,
the way love shows up, or the way people show love. And
yeah. Justin says,
when we know better, we do better. Yes, it's absolutely.
That's mine, isn't it?
What is it? I have got like a lot of former sponsees on here.
They're letting go. They were like, "Well, I want to hear this one."
I know exactly. I want to say
All About Love by Bell Hooks. That's the book that I was thinking.
I love it.
Yeah, we have to accept that, that people didn't love us. They cared for us. They didn't love us.
Because they didn't know how to.
Right.
They didn't know how. Like nowadays, it's kind of like, how we talk about language, like we have all of this new language or whatever, and different older generations are struggling with this idea of pronouns and all that good stuff. Well, like I remember, and I know that this was kind of a line in Fences where it's like, love you, I have to love you, I take care of you. Like, I don't have to, but we needed that love. I need a hug every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something my family, I've talked about this before. There's something magical has been happening in my family within the last few years. And a lot of it has been like my family acknowledging things that they've had to change, AKA let go.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I don't know where it or how it happened.
That's amazing, especially for us, because it's like, we get to a place where we have to realize, okay, we're doing the work. And when we do the work, it doesn't mean anybody else has to do it.
Sure.
But when they start doing it, and this is that attraction,
not promotion.
Yeah, attraction, not promotion. Because when you see somebody shining, somebody showing up in a different way, it's attractive, and it's like I want some of that,
Right. One of the things that's talked about in family systems therapy is sometimes what happens is like all you need is for one person who's part of a family system. All you need is for one person to make changes, and they can be minor changes. It could be that one person in this kind of chaotic family tree, that one person who decides I'm going to get sober and I'm going to be happy. And there's this ripple effect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes that ripple doesn't look the way you expect it to look, but there's a ripple effect. People notice when you're happy. You know what I mean? People notice when you're doing good for yourself. You were going to say something?
No. I was amen.
Amen. Take it to church. Take it to church.
Exactly.
So we're down to our last 5 minutes, and Justin writes. Did you want to read that?
Yeah. By not placing demands on how, and that's capitals, someone chooses to love us, frees us to invite in and accept the love they are able to give. Love languages for everyone is different. For me, when there's a misalignment, I know that's either an opportunity to grow or run away fast. Absolutely.
There's a misalignment. I know there's either an okay.
Anka
writes. Okay, Anka writes, I remember how the phrase let go and let God helped me so much in the beginning. And now I know that sometimes doing absolutely nothing versus trying to control can be a radical act of letting go in faith. Hell yeah, Anka. Oof. Yeah. In fact, Anka, not doing something, that's been like the one thing that I think has transformed a lot of my relationships recently. And to Justin's earlier point too, it's like sometimes like, for example, I had a friend once say to me, she's like, Anthony, I love you the way I love my baby sister. And that is the best that I can do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I'm like, I have to accept that. This is the best that she can do.
Also, it's like when you realize that, like I realized like with my friend, a friend who passed away a while back, it was like, aha, he is never going to be the type friend to me that I am to him. And that's okay. Am I, or I need to decide, am I okay with that? And if I'm not okay with that, then I get to decide, okay, yeah, this is when I let go. This is when I step away. And I realized that I was okay with that. But there are some relationships where I realized that I did that kind of questioning, that inner kind of personal thinking. And I realized that I had to love them from across the street.
Yeah. I want to kind of land on maybe some practical ideas. And I think the first practical idea is that it's hard to know when to let something go unless you have a standard by which you live your life.
Absolutely.
Right? Like in my opinion, you need to have some set of values, things that are important to you that guide the decisions you make.
Absolutely.
Right? So I am, of course, going to put up with like an unhealthy relationship, romantic or platonic. I am, of course, going to deal with a job that is essentially killing me if I don't have a value system.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I feel like there's so many different ways of developing a value system. You know, think about anything that's ever hurt you. And on the other side of that is the thing that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say?
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I was also thinking a great place, and we talk about this a lot, is giving yourself grace, being patient with yourself. Like, I think that as much as we would like everything to be just the way that it is, sometimes, it takes a little time. And that's when that pause, that doing nothing comes in, like not, and surrounding yourself with folks that you trust, folks that aren't just filling your head with nonsense and telling you what you want to hear, but that are kind of, getting real with you in the way that you need to have people get real with you.
That's real.
Yeah.
You're reminding me of, every sinner has his future and every saint has his past.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This one speaker at a conference I went to said beautifully that working the steps or doing any work, what it does is it changes your past. It changes how you view your past.
Yeah.
Because obviously I always thought I came in this with an idea of how other people were showing up, but it was my perception of that. So,
you sent a text the other day that's reminding me of something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea I took away from it is like, you were saying that life is a collaboration between you and God, right?
Absolutely.
And when I read that, I was like, that's so beautiful, because it makes me think of life in this way. It's like, I am essentially co-authoring my life, right?
Yeah.
We have co-authors. God is my co-author. Who the hell is your co-author?
Yeah.
Is your co-author like a line of Coke? Is your co-author like that one unhealthy friend? Is your co-author like a nagging boss, or is your co-author God?
Absolutely.
Right? Or is your co-authors like these people that are loving and supportive of you?
Absolutely.
So maybe that's the way we decide, right? It's like we have to decide who our co-authors are.
Exactly.
Is that what I wanted to say?
I think so. That was beautiful. It's like,
thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
So we need to start wrapping up so that we can head to our podcast exclusive content. But Terry writes before we do that.
Zooms in right towards the end. I love it.
You guys are bringing it today. Aw, thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
That's a great picture.
Yes. Lovely.
So Terry writes. Did you want to read that?
You guys are bringing it today. Sorry, I missed the beginning. I recently had to detach with love from members of my family of origin again. It's hard, but I've given myself permission to conserve my energy and love for those who accept and return it. Absolutely.
We're here for you, Terry.
Yes, exactly. You know what? And the beautiful thing about like making decisions like this is that it's not the end.
Mm-mm.
It's not the end. It's just, it's like a beginning for you taking care of yourself, growing into a place, growing and becoming the person that you want to become, or that you should become. I don't want to say should.
No, I know. I know
you can become.
Yeah.
And back to what we were saying about that attraction, it's like people see it and they want it.
Yeah, and I would say, Terry, too, maybe not directly, maybe directly, that boundaries for me have always been an act of love. Like if I'm creating a boundary with someone in my life, but I'm keeping you in my life, you better believe that boundary is an act of love, because I'm trying to preserve our friendship.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to preserve a relationship. Similarly, like if you have to take space from your family, that's an act of love. You know what I mean? Like you're doing what you need to do in order to make sure that you can show up for them. If you show up for them, it's totally up to you and God.
Yeah.
And so on that note, let's close this shit out. But Alex wants to come in and swoop in. What did Alex say? Holding on is believing there's only a past, while letting go is knowing there's a future. Hey, I read that in the timer.
That's his Hawaii picture. That's a good
That is
picture
his
too,
Hawaii
Alex.
picture. Insight Timer. I think I saw that quote in Insight Timer. Do you use Insight Timer? You're so welcome, Terry.
Yes. Thank you, Terry. Thank you for participating.
But thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Terry. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Anka. Anybody else who wrote in? Alex is Googling shit to say.
Yes.
Listen, we're going to cross-reference the things you say here. And Lewis and I.
Yes, exactly.
You can't bullshit
and
us.
then we'll catch you on the street.
Yeah, we'll catch you on the street. But anyway, we appreciate everyone's contributions. We're going to read out.
J-Lon, it's like the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBTQ recovery community.
Did you see Brandon ready to hit that button? We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting personal growth.
Yes, and our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support.
You can find more information, including all the ways to contact us at www.castrocountryclub.org/podcast.
Yes, and tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. at Pacific Standard Time when we go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
Oh! Should I tell them about the? And if you keep listening, you can go to the wherever you get your podcast, and we're going to continue talking for another 15 minutes. Sorry, Brandon. Go.